Craig, if you don't mind me asking what happened with your parents, this is going to be a bit of a downer for a minute. So, oh, fucking hell. I have to simplify the story because it's a very long story that involves some years of attempted suicides from my mum. And then eventually, after her biggest suicide attempt, where we were actually given time to say goodbye to her before she was put into a medically induced coma. When she recovered from that, and we were told she wasn't going to, so we felt blessed. We felt like we had a miracle, and it was in and around Christmas time, the year I was leaving school and doing my final exams. And then we got a phone call to say that there was a delay. So just to give you a really quick backstory, my mum had taken an overdose of paracetamol. She'd taken about 80 paracetamol. And she was brought into hospital, and we were told that the next 2 to 3 days are going to be critical because with paracetamol, it's one of those drugs that will eat the liver, like just destroy it. But the next 3 days were going to be, important. So the next 2-3 days came, and she got worse and worse and worse and worse, and the jaundice set in, and she was put into that medically induced coma anyway. So she woke up, thankfully, and it felt like a miracle. My dad, I'd never seen my dad cry before, but he was in floods of tears. It was the love of his life, his only woman he's been with. So she woke up, and then she started a recovery. And then we found out the reason why she'd been doing the suicide attempts. Because she'd been sexually abused by somebody within her family, within her family circle. And that then inadvertently drove my parents apart, and they both hit the drink very heavily. My parents separated then, and I moved back home to look after my dad, whose health was deteriorating really badly with the drink. Myself and my wife used to take shifts sleeping because he'd scream out in pain in the middle of the night, and he'd be so stubborn he wouldn't go to a hospital or anything. So eventually he went into hospital and he never came back out. He had severe alcoholic hepatitis, and he died age 45. And then my mum remarried, but never found any peace. And eventually I got a phone call to say that, she died of an overdose. And I'm an only child. I've no brothers or sisters. And in amongst all of this, I also got screwed out of my inheritance as an only child, which I never really cared about because I'm not money motivated, but it went to people that my dad didn't even know. So I lost that. I had a nervous breakdown. I ended up in a lockdown ward in a mental health institution. Pretty much homeless. And if it wasn't for my missus, I wouldn't be here. But it gets better. It gets a bit happier. Then so then I went on to Twitter because I isolated myself away, and I wasn't interacting with anyone. I was just locked away at home, and I wasn't going outside. So I decided I'd join Twitter, and that was about 10 years ago. So I started tweeting away on Twitter, and I didn't use my real name on there because I was I was nervous. So I was tweeting away on there, and obviously loving Liverpool Football Club, it naturally drew me towards Liverpool threads and stuff on Twitter. So then I started to become a little bit more recognized on Twitter because of some stuff I was posting and doing. And then the people at Anfield Index reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do a few bits for them. So I started writing a few articles for Anfield Index. Now, I'm not a journalist and my grammar's terrible, but you know, they were received well enough. And then I got the chance to do some podcasts. And I enjoyed the podcast, but I felt like I wanted to do my own thing because I had a very particular way I felt about things. So then I started a podcast or two, kind of fell through a few years there. And then we moved on to Anfield Agenda and came onto YouTube. And it became where I got to interact with people every night in real time. And I didn't care about the numbers or the money or any of that because there was no money, you know. So this snowballed, and over the years, the community grew a bit. And it became my job in the last 2 years. And it started to change my life. In ways I never thought possible. It gave me a future. And that's why I'm so protective of it. So, in amongst all of that, we have children. And I have to set an example to my kids. So my son got diagnosed with autism when he was 4. And then I got diagnosed with Asperger's, which is a form, it's on the autism spectrum. And then when I got diagnosed myself, my life made a bit more sense. Because I'm different. I don't have the same thought patterns you do. So, sorry. So, when you guys say to me, don't bite, don't go in, don't bite, I can't explain how, in my mind, these situations explode, but it feels like a physical hurt that I can't bite my tongue. And I've never been able to bite my tongue. So yeah, I guess that's the short version of it. When I say idiots like these people that try to bait me, they're not going to be the ones that break me. I mean it, because I shouldn't be here. And in my immediate family, my granddad died at 37 through alcohol. My father died at 45, unfortunately, from alcohol. And I was determined to break that cycle. So I don't really drink. I drink occasionally, but it never did happen for me. I don't like drink. So this channel to me is everything. It's everything. Because it gave me a life. It gave me hope. So yeah, that's it really.